Well, welcome to our inaugural YouTube Live Town Hall. I want to thank all of you who signed on and have come aboard. I've been around the district and we've tried to get everywhere, but I haven't got all of you and I haven't gotten to all the towns yet. So we wanted to give anybody that couldn't make it to one of our town halls an opportunity to catch us online from the comfort of your own living room or on your device. We're super glad to have you. Just a quick warm up for this. If you don't have a YouTube account, you can text us questions to 509-492-2205. And what I'd like to do next is throw it over to Christine Brown. Now, you may remember that Christine Brown ran for the seat that I'm running for in 2018. She's a former news anchor here for about 25 years in the Tri-City area. And so some of you may remember Christine from when she ran and when she was on your TV every day. We're super excited to have her here. We're super excited to be doing this event with all of you. And Christine, I'll throw it over to you.
John, thank you so much. When you called me last week and said, how about doing this? I'm like, no. I said yes, because I want John to win. It's really important that we could have a Democrat in Washington, D.C. representing us. And John is the lone Democrat running in this race. So for the next hour, we're going to be asking questions of John. You can ask anything that would help you make a decision, because you said you had just recently, I saw it online. You got your ballot. Well, I got mine yesterday, and people have been talking about and showing that they got their ballots. So the process is working. People have their ballots and they're ready to make some decisions, but they might need a question or two answered. So let's get some questions going. First, I want to start with some basics, just give you some numbers. John is 58 years old. I asked him that a little while ago, and I think he was kind of hesitant. But you know, John, a lot of people think that age right now, in the time of that we have so many people that are 80 plus, is really important. So John's 58 years old. He lives in West Richland. In fact, that's where we are. And he's been married for 33 years to Robin, and they have raised 2 children. He spent 24 years in the Air Force, and he retired as a major. Then he spent 5 years in the Hanford Field Office as a project control officer. Now, I know that you have said online, I've seen some of this as well, that you could be out fishing, but you're not. You're sitting here tonight, ready to answer questions and running for Congress. Everybody wants to know, why?
Thank you. You know, it's a funny question. And people, my friends have heard me say this. I'll be out doing yard work and I'll walk by my boat and my boat will be, John, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Where have you been? What's going on? Did you see the weather? Have you seen the walleye reports? It's time to go catch fish. This is what happened. Last year, I was working at the Hanford Field Office, minding my own business, working toward retirement, as one does, when I got the fork in the road email from Elon Musk. You remember this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, having spent a long time in the government, I had never seen an email quite like that. There was no rhyme or reason to it. There was no basis. There was no if then. There was respond to this email. We'll give you the rest of the year off. You can walk away. Well, we declined to walk away at that time. But my lovely wife and I discussed it and said, well, if they give us a more robust program that's, and they I realized I turned 57 last year, and that's early retirement age in civil service. And so we said, well, we could swing it. And so we kind of made the decision to retire. And sure enough, that email came. They offered a second bite of the apple, if you will, for the deferred retirement program. And I responded to the email, and that was it. 37 years of experience walked out the door, along with thousands of my peers. I say this all the time, but we have lost so much experience. The state of our nation has lost capacity and capability. And at some point, voters are really going to notice that. But that isn't why I'm here. That doesn't have anything to do with it. I did not retire so that I could run for Congress. The day after I sent that email, offering to retire, I was listening to a podcast on the radio, and it was Sarah Longwell from the Bulwark. And she's talking about this next election. It's going to be a wave election. I'm already mad about what Donald Trump and his administration are doing to my country. And she says, it's going to be a wave election. Democrats are going to win a lot of seats. What she said next changed my life. She said, this election is going to be driven by the kind of candidates who see how crazy everything is, and they have to get off the sidelines. They've got to get into the game. Mm-hmm. Christina was like, I was hit by lightning. I kind of looked in the rearview mirror, and I was like, oh, she's talking to me. And so I went back home, and I sent a text message to Carl Baker. He's the vice chair of Benton County Democrats. He said, hey, crazy idea here. Combat veteran, 37 years government experience. I think now is the right time to take down, at the time, Dan Newhouse. He hadn't told the world he was going to retire yet. And Carl came right back with, that's some crazy that I endorse. And we've been running ever since. And so for the why is, because if not me, then who? Mm-hmm. And we had the ability, we put the team together. I've clearly demonstrated the ability to get around the district. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little more later. So, I've studied politics, and I've been a Democrat my whole life, and I'm deeply disturbed by what has happened to our country. There are things that need fixing. We need to send adults to Congress, and I'm the guy to do it.
I see that you have been driving the whole district, and it is big. It goes from Canada to Oregon. A lot of people don't know that, and it's an immense region. So I'm really curious to know what people are talking to you about. What is the biggest concern that you think people mention to you? What are they bugged about?
Right. Well, and I'll mention here, we woke up Sunday morning in Goldendale, down in Klickitat County. We woke up yesterday morning in Twisp or Winthrop, and then we had an interview with NPR yesterday in the afternoon at a town hall. So we are doing the work. We are going through that district, going everywhere. But the answer to your question is really simple. It's not a buzzword. It's not a Democratic talking point. Affordability is our voters' lived experience. They were promised lower grocery prices. They didn't get them. They got tariffs and a war in Iran that's driving up our gas costs, our fertilizer costs, and everything else. So everybody in this district in some way has been impacted by this Trump administration's bad choices on our economy. And so whoever you are, wherever you're sitting, like I said, the tariffs, but we haven't raised the minimum wage since 2009. So, they've continued to rig, the Trump administration and the Republicans in Congress have continued to rig the system against working people. And it's just time to turn that around. It's time to bring the Democratic Party back to its working class roots that it had no business leaving in the first place. And it's time to put union jobs first. It's time to put workers first instead of shareholders and billionaires on Wall Street.
Well, let's get really specific about that then. Let's talk about healthcare. And I know that you have traveled to many of the rural areas.
Yeah. And
there seems to be some very specific and concerning issues for rural healthcare. What have you learned? What have you seen?
This is a good, I went long on affordability there. So healthcare is the other big thing that we are hearing all across the district. And so the bottom line here is the big beautiful bill has really damaged our healthcare system. So I've talked to hospital administrators, patients, doctors, nurse practitioners, and they're all telling me, I had a typical story is, I had a patient who just isn't showing up anymore. They need my care for life-saving medicine, and they cannot afford to come to the doctor because of the premiums. The Affordable Care Act subsidies took the subsidies away, and people's premiums doubled, tripled, and in some cases quadrupled. Now, the big beautiful bill, a lot of people haven't seen it just yet, but after the new year, they put some poison pills in there. And if the work requirements and the reimbursement rates for those hospitals don't improve, those hospitals are in real trouble, and we've got to keep focused on that. These communities can't survive without healthcare. I've been to those communities. They're wonderful places. You know, I cannot go to Metcalfe Valley enough. I love going down to Klickitat and seeing the people down there. It's just great. They built these wonderful communities, but they're reliant on healthcare that is too far away. Let me tell you a very specific story. Yesterday, 2 days ago, a guy named Kerry called me. And he said, hey, we need to get specialist care up here. We don't have a podiatrist around Okanagan. I had to drive 100 miles to Wenatchee, and I almost lost my toe because I couldn't get down there fast enough. I mean, that's the kind of things that impact real people. And by the way, I want to make this clear, 55% of the people in this district are either on Medicaid or Medicare. This isn't really a partisan issue. We have to fix this for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I would just add, just to be crystal clear, it's past time for some form of universal health care, Medicare for all. And, you know, a lot of Democrats over the years have been mealy-mouthed. They're afraid to say what we mean. In America now, we have the most expensive care for the poorest results in sort of the westernized developed world. And it's time to do something else.
It's pretty amazing that 32 to 34 other major nations around the world have universal health care, and we do not.
Yeah.
Why don't we? What has been that stumbling block, do you think?
Successful scare techniques by the Republican Party. I mean, the Democrats have been for universal health care for essentially 80 years. And there's literally a group of people who they've never offered a solution. If they came to us and said, well, and I like the free market, and I like, you know, the incentives, and I like the entrepreneurialism of the free market, and I like some of the great things, the developments have come because of some of the free market processes in our country. It matters. They haven't offered a solution that works for the rest of us. And their solution, even today, they don't have one. Just know that's their only solution. We're not going to help you. Well, that's not going to work for basically 90% of Americans. So it's time to start helping.
You're a veteran.
Isn't it?
Constantly hearing complaints from veterans about the level of healthcare service that they are entitled to. And that I believe that most Americans would say, yes, they should have quality health care. What's wrong there? And what have folks said on the trail about that?
So I met a guy in Quincy who's a mental health counselor. And he has 6,000 veterans that he's trying to service in Grant County.
Wow.
He himself can only work part-time, and there is one counselor. And, you know, we have sent our veterans off to a lot of these wars that we didn't even need to. And then we are not doing a good job of taking care of them. And but this is an urgent issue. As a matter of fact, I saw one of the questions online that said, you know, what are you doing about the current veterans bill that's trying to get through Congress right now? And listen, this is a big deal because what they're trying to do is they're trying to offer current veterans a good deal at the expense of future veterans. Well, that's a no sale. Yeah, nobody should be signing up for that bill. It should fail because we need to take care of all veterans today and in the future, not just our little select group of ones today. I don't know what genius came up with that idea. Oh, I'm sure I do. It was probably Republican. Sorry.
All right.
No?
Let me share that phone number to text.
Yes, please.
Text 509-492-2205, and we can get some other questions coming in from folks out there. Let's spend a little time on foreign policy because, wow, we are just inundated with foreign policy issues today.
Yeah.
If there was a bill in Congress for us to leave NATO, would you vote yes or no? to leave NATO. Do you think
No,
we should
no,
leave NATO?
No, this came up last night. Look, I spent 24 years in the Air Force. I deployed around the world. And somehow the current people in our administration and in the Department of Defense have lost the bubble on this. The source of our power has never been about bullets, missiles, and bombs. Source of our power has always been twofold. One, our desire and ability to bring our friends with us when we fight. We fight as a team. We always have, we always should. And so our allies are what have made us the most formidable country in the world. Coupled with, of course, us being the example of treating every one of our allies and everyone in the world by a set of laws, by a predictable, stable set of rules and understandings. And we have essentially a madman running the show right now, who has some opposite idea of how that should be done. And frankly, I can't believe what we've done. I mean, Ukraine is for example. We had the opportunity here to weaken one of our most formidable adversaries, and we absolutely failed. The war in Iran is an even better example of the lack of planning, the lack of foresight, the lack of fighting as a team, the lack of a plan for outcomes that you didn't expect, and the strategic consequences of Trump's loss in Iran will go for many decades. We don't even yet know the level of damage done from this. This is a big deal. And by the way, last I checked, in Article 1 of the Constitution, war-making powers rest with Congress. And so one of the things when we take over the gavel and take Congress back, we're going to take war-making powers away from the president.
Mm-hmm.
That should never have started. He should not be the guy who decides just randomly to go to war against Greenland, ?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I want to stay on that topic a little bit. How do you think that your long military career prepared you to actively participate in the future in terms of congressional debates or policy development?
Well, I made it my job the whole time I was in to study these things.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Iraq in 2006, I wrote an execution order for a new way to use cyber tools in warfare. And so I've been there and done that. I've written policy for the federal government. I've written executive orders. And so, I'm not going to be lost the first time I go to the Pentagon. I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know how the whole system works. I've been in the room when the Pentagon was having internal food fights over budgeting and IT direction. I've seen the sausage getting made. And so that, and plus I've studied this my whole life. When I was in Iraq, I learned something very valuable. I was an Air Force guy, but I was embedded with the Army when I was in Iraq. And I really came to respect the Army a lot here because, for the Air Force, the whole world looks like a bunch of targets, right? Because they have bombers and fighters. We blow stuff up. It's kind of like a single. The Army, they very often end up in these places and have to work with the local population.
Mm-hmm.
They have to learn about the people. And so when I was there, I'm reading about, at the time I actually was reading about Afghanistan, and reading about the different, we were learning about Islam, and we were learning about the different Islamic sects, about Sunni and Shia. And that's, you have to know that stuff. I was doing influence operations while I was over there, propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that successfully, you have to know what's going on in those countries and you have to have a complex view. The world's a complicated place, Christine. I don't have to tell you that. And anybody that tries to flatten and make it simple is trying to sell you something.
So you've got some very useful background. Karis from Richland has a question for you. Does John support a moratorium on building energy-hungry data centers? Big topic these days.
It's such a big topic, and I like to, when you get a question like this, I like to say, short and simple. yes, I do support that moratorium.
Mhm.
Now, I think there's a lot, I also add, I do believe there's some misinformation going around about this. Because I also think there are two different issues. To me, the real issue here is AI. And I'm just not sure what the value proposition for all the rest of this is. What are we, the common good, what are Americans getting out of it? I know the oligarchs and the tech billionaires love it. What are we getting out of it? I'm just not sure I see the value to society. It seems like a net loss for all of us. And I think we ought to make sure we have really good guardrails, make sure we have clear understanding. And finally, I want to be clear about this. Local communities should get to decide this one. West Richland's going through this right now. And if West Richland decides, the people decide, we don't want a data center here, then that's kind of the end of the story, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, that's a good way to answer that question. Trade and tariffs. We're certainly an area that has been affected by whimsical changes and often for punitive reasons to other countries. How can we get back? What is a path to getting back to reasonable trade agreements and tariffs?
Yeah. Well, this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the real source of our power in this country. For decades, the great source of our power was that everyone wanted to trade with us because we were a reliable and stable trading partner. Just talked to an agricultural guy the other day, and he was basically explaining that, if you plant a new apple orchard, it takes a very long time to go from start to producing apples. They need stability. They need predictability in the market. And having this radical, impetuous trade regime where you just trade, you change whatever the tariff rate and you smash different agreements. We've all suffered from this. Not even here, just in Washington, but all over the country. You hear about the story about the soybeans, how we built this big export market for our soybeans, and then they just had the rug absolutely pulled out. And these people are suffering. I've talked to a bunch of orchardists here in central Washington, and like I was up near north of Wenatchee, and I was in the room with a couple of these guys, and both of them, 5 generations of orchardists, and they're like, "That's it. This is done with me. We're not going to keep doing this. It doesn't pay." And I think this is a legacy and important part of who we are in Washington. It's like literally our identity, and we're not taking care of the very people that make that happen. I'll add, it's interesting to note that, well, I've lived in the Midwest a lot, been around corn and soybeans and all that stuff. And we actually have more familiarity. My son's wife actually, her family owns thousands of acres of soybeans and corn in south central Nebraska. They get a ton of government support and all this stuff. And I was asking them about crop insurance and subsidy, and they're like, "Oh, they kind of wave their hand at me." There's nothing for them. It's just it's literally a cash crop market for them. And so you kind of like shake your head. These guys are producing real food for real people. That seems like something we want to protect. And we want to do everything we can to help those guys. But the tariffs aren't just hurting, the growers. They're hurting everybody. There's a whole bunch of small business models that are built on low cost import and export. And when you change that, when you just take a sledgehammer to all of that, those jobs just disappear. I did a video recently about barbecue down in Texas. Price of beef has gone up because of the import-export markets. So lots to do there. Trade relations are, and of course, like everything, it's complicated. It's messy and it's hard. But, requires adults in the room, not bomb throwers.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's move from that topic of agriculture into immigration, because we certainly are reliant on folks in our region to be providing work. We need workers, and we hear that every season that we are in need of workers.
Dan Newhouse just talked about it today.
Did he?
Yeah, there's an article about it in the paper. Yeah.
What is your position on immigration?
Can I break the fourth wall for just a minute here? How are we doing on this thing, by the way? Can you just give me kind of We have like viewers and stuff.
Oh, yeah, we've got like 67 right now.
67. All right, hello out there, everybody.
Somebody's got to be asking a question, don't they?
Christine and I are sitting
I'm
here.
texting you.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to do a little fourth wall break here, make sure that we're doing a good job. Thank you all for joining us. So next question up, immigration.
Immigration.
Yes, ma'am. Look, we have friends. Everybody has friends. This is Central Washington. It's 40% Latino. Everybody knows somebody who's non-documented immigrant, for sure. And we owe the people that have helped build the economic foundation of this district. We owe them a fast, fair, and affordable path to legal status. Doesn't have to be citizenship, just fast, fair, and affordable. I talked to a young woman. She said her citizenship stuff all went through, took 20 years, cost $100,000. So when you hear people say, oh, well, I'm okay with people coming here the right way, there's no right way. They took away any right way, and reforming it is not optional. And the reason we haven't reformed it is because Republicans are cynically using it as a messaging tool. They have no intention to fix it. As a matter of fact, it works better for them if it's not fixed. And so it's cynical, it's painful. I want to say one other thing about this because it usually comes up. It's almost hard to talk about. I am appalled and angry that ICE, they murdered 2 more people this week. Just this week. And I'm gonna color I'm gonna color outside the lines here for a minute. I got a phone call a couple days ago, and some guy was upset that somebody had my campaign sign up, and then they had another sign up that said next to it that said 8647, which James Comey got in trouble for putting a picture of that fucking seashells on his Instagram. It is cynical and hypocritical to an extreme degree to have grievance with somebody about a silly little meme when ICE is flat murdering people. Something in our moral compass in our country has broken. Now, when we originally made ICE, it had a specific role, it had a specific duty, but as it exists today, it cannot be saved. I've seen how culture works in an organization. I've seen it when it's broken, and that's actually quite a longer story for a different day. But culture starts at the top, and then it is persistently built day after day by inculcating a specific kind of respect for norms, a respect for rules and constitution, and ICE has demonstrated none of that. Has to be reformed, has to be reduced. And when we get the gavel in the new year, we're going to take after them for sure.
Along that same line, Sylvia from East Wenatchee poses this question for you. The federal government and the norms that we have come to expect have been broken and trashed by this administration. How will you approach the rebuilding of our institutions? And what safeguards will you champion to make sure this never happens again?
Yeah, that's, depending on the voter, this is such a gigantic issue. If you know how government's supposed to work, you are really offended by what's going on. If you're trying to pay your bills, you're mostly just concerned about paying your bills. So I'm sympathetic to both of those groups. Let me get to it. When I first started doing this, I took a pledge by a group called Take Back Congress. And Take Back Congress, the pledge has 5 parts. The parts are term limits, a ban on stock trading by sitting congressmen, a moratorium on lobbying by departing congressmen, overturning Citizens United, and an enforceable code of ethics for the Supreme Court. That's a start. And some of those are going to be a long reach that we've got to work to bring Republicans on and make them see that they're going to lose until they join us in making government work for the people. The biggest problem here, the biggest problem to Sylvia's question is that the incentives are broken. People go to Congress and get rich. People go to Congress to serve themselves instead of the people from their district. And so the pledge is my instrument. It's my pledge to the people of this district, to the people of this country, that we are going to fix Congress first so that we can then start making the bigger changes. But there's another problem here, and that is, it comes down to party. I've seen way too many people putting their party first instead of putting the country first. We all take an oath of office when we sign up. I've lived under that oath for 37 years. That oath is not to a man, for sure, not to a party. It's to the people of the United States and the Constitution of America. And it seems like we've flipped the order of that upside down with the way politics is going right now. To further address Sylvia's questions, I think there could be an opportunity in the near future for a basket of reforms that everyone will finally understand. We've got to fix a couple of things to keep this experiment in self-government going.
Mhm.
It's been demonstrated that we have to fix the pardon power. It just has to be fixed. Can't be one man who can just pardon people that that he can have people committing crimes on his behalf and just let them loose. Can't do that anymore. Emergency powers that are written into the presidency. No, we need Congress people to go to Congress and do their job. There's no reason that a committee, if we need something to happen right away, we'll have a voice vote from the committee and make it happen. So, no, this is a republic. We vote for people to represent us. We do not vote for a king for 4 years.
Mhm.
So,
If you were to go to Congress, will you be, let's say, how do I say it? Will you be hogtied by your commitment to someone else? I mean, quite frankly, I'm looking at the Republicans running in this spot, and they're actually pretty committed to responding to what the president wants.
yeah,
Will you feel that obligation?
no. I mean, the shortest possible way, this question comes up, and the shortest possible answer to this is I value my integrity more than I value this job. That is to say, my oath is to the people. And if that means that I make a vote that they don't like and they send me home, then they send me home. I've had a wonderful career. I've had two wonderful careers. This has been a privilege and an honor. Just doing this much of this, just running to represent, has been an absolute privilege, and I feel honored to have made it this far. And so I don't understand the instinct to put your values aside. We give these guys names like honorable and all of that, and then they act like the most cowardly men in history. And a lot of these guys are Ivy League educated or private elite school educated. They all know better. They all went to the history classes. They went to the government classes. They know how this is supposed to work. They know why things are the way they are. And instead they chose to stand aside and watch it get destroyed.
Mhm.
And time to send a different kind of person in Congress, I guess.
Right. Richard, here's his question. News media has become less traditional journalism and more opinion and talking heads, not to mention the consolidation of network ownership. Does this trend worry you? And actually, consolidation is happening in almost every aspect of our world. Consolidation in groceries, in trucking, in absolutely everything. So now we have giant corporations. And when you and I were growing up, I mean,
Yeah.
didn't we have restrictions on monopolies? So news media is one issue, but consolidation in general.
Yeah, I mean, Richard?
Yes, Richard.
Yeah, the short answer to that question is I'm very concerned about all of that. We're entering a world in where there is just no way to know what you know anymore.
Right.
This is, for us, this is like a real concern. It's a bug. For the Republican Party, the less trust you have in your institutions, the better. It's a feature for them. And so when I talk about the incentives, it goes both ways here. We have to find a way to make sure that everyone is holding their politicians accountable. But holding your politicians accountable doesn't mean just holding Democrats accountable. You can't have two standards for everybody. Let me get back on point though. I want to make a very clear point here. We do have monopoly law on the books from the 1800s. Robust competition grows economies every time. It makes everyone better. But today we're in such a point, especially with the media, that we're going to have to split it up, and we're going to have to put. I can see a world where we force all news delivering mediums into some kind of blind trust, where you are not allowed to own newspapers and then tell that newspaper what to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you can own the newspaper because it's America, but you having direct control over that is showing itself to be a real problem. One man owning all of X is a real problem. Did I just pick a fight with Elon Musk? I don't really want to do that. Just because I don't really want to. I don't really need that kind of attention just yet. But for real, these guys have way too much power, and I could go way down the rabbit hole about this. I've had dealings with TikTok. I've had dealings with Meta/Facebook, and they are incredibly difficult to work with. They are not accountable in any way to anyone, not even really to their shareholders, the way they've designed the systems today. We got a ton of work to do with media. I'm worried about it. I don't have all the answers today. We're going to work toward the answers. As for old school monopoly, like your grocery store example, you'll hear this in the news, and I'm sure most people just kind of pass it by. Well, this, number one, whether or not you get the merger you wanted should not depend on whether you donated to President Donald Trump. There's a word for that. It's called command economy or communism. When the government controls the businesses, that's not free enterprise anymore. And so we've got to stop doing that. But we absolutely have to break up these companies and encourage competition at all levels and take away, the incentives that help those companies get bigger at the expense of little guys, for sure.
All right. From our comment section, what are your thoughts on USPS, the Postal Service, wanting to close rural post offices and the fact that they are currently not funding retirements? Should the debt ceiling be lifted for USPS? Thanks for going live. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Who was that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It's Warpo 89.
Well,
Hi, Warpo.
hello. The short answer here is yes. And by the way, supporting those rural hospitals should be a bipartisan issue. Because after all, the Republicans love to talk about how much votes they get from our rural areas. So post offices and hospitals are key to living in those small communities. And so we absolutely have to keep the post office, the rural post offices funded, and we have to fund retirements because we're the federal government, and it would be ridiculous to break our promises to people who've worked for us for 20 years or more. So that's a no-brainer. I don't even know. I mean, he asked a question. I understand why he asked a question. It's not a no-brainer for the question. I can't believe that that's an issue. That's basic politics 101 is taking care of that kind of stuff.
All right. I like talking about congressional standards. Oh, when you talked about no, you haven't talked about term limits, have you? Are you
It's in the pledge.
supportive? Oh, that's in the pledge.
It's in the
Okay.
pledge. Mhm.
Okay. Do you support, should members of Congress be forced to live by policies they enact into law for the rest of us?
This is kind of particularly interesting to me because,
It's timely right now
well,
with Mitch McConnell and other folks.
I'm going to almost go a different direction. When I was in the military and in civil service, you have to live by the Hatch Act. One of the reasons that my politics career started 1 year ago is because 1 year ago I retired from civil service.
Mhm.
So if I can't be active in politics as a civil servant, and I can't And like, I think actually my campaign manager Gabe made the point, he's watching President Trump literally violate the Hatch Act on national TV for an entire, State of the Union or whatever address, his little televised address tonight, was basically one long Hatch Act violation. In the military, we call that different spanks for different ranks. But today, there's just no question. Let me go back and just answer the question simply. There should never be two standards. If our civil servants have to follow the rules, if our people have to follow the rules, this is where the insider trading, the stock trading is driving me mad right now. Trump himself made $750 million off of crypto trading and stock trading this year, which is a bananas number considering he is not allowed to, by law, have any private gain from knowledge that he has from his job. Congressmen doing the same thing. Congress people made $250 million in insider trading this year. It's shocking that people aren't standing outside the Capitol building with pitchforks. Like throw the bums out. I mean, if you're insider trading, I really don't care what party you're in, it's time for you to go home.
All right, how about Alyssa from Toppenish?
Oh, yeah?
This is a good question about water rights. Water rights are a major issue in central Washington. How would you work to protect local water resources while balancing agricultural, tribal, and environmental needs?
Yeah, I mean, let me be straight with you. I've met with some of the people. Matter of fact, I met with the Columbia Snake River Irrigator Society. I've talked to a lot of these people, and what I say when I walk away from every one of those is, I'm gonna need more help. I need to hire like an expert in these areas because I don't even have a real understanding of what even the problems are. I do know there's an old saying about water being for fighting or something. I don't remember what that saying is, but remember that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know,
Whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting.
Whiskey's for drinking, water's for fighting. That's what it is. You got it. He got it. I knew someone would get it for me. Again, I'll just be clear here. What we need in this area will always be stable, clear, and fair oversight and regulation from Congress. So people should have predictability. At some point, I want to see people stop fighting though and make agreements and move on. There's some things that we continue to fight over water, and we seem to just decide to never be done fighting. We're just going to keep fighting about it. So there's real concerns here with climate change because I'm worried. The snowpack was really low this year up in the Cascades, and it's led to water being quite a bit less, and salmon runs are down, and there's just a whole bunch of problems there that will require real thought. And I won't answer some glib, pithy answer to a real serious and complex policy issues.
Well, when you even start to, peel back the onion just a tiny bit, as you've mentioned multiple times, these are complicated, incredibly complicated issues.
Yes.
And we have a tendency to simplify them beyond what's helpful.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, Fednanders. I don't know what that means, Fednanders. But anyway,
Okay.
Would you vote to suspend aid to Israel like half of the Dems in the House did yesterday?
Yes, I would. And I want to add just a real short thing to that. I took a pledge from a group called Track APAC that says I will not take APAC money. And they have my pictures up on their website. And look, politicians on both sides of the aisle have not gotten the memo. I've talked to a lot of young progressives. I've talked to a lot of young Trump voters that are pissed off about this Israel stuff. Bad. That they think, they believe, and I believe it with them, and I've signed a pledge that I believe it with them, that Israel's committed genocide in Gaza. And so, again, we need to stop with the mealy-mouthed, consultant-crafted nonsense and say what we mean. It's a big deal, and a lot of young people are really fired up about it. And I want them to know I've got their back.
Let me ask you a light question now.
Okay,
This is a fun, light question.
I like
all
that.
right?
That's a good idea.
Thomas of Richland wants to know, South Richland, what are your hobbies or free time endeavors? Are you a sports fan? And if so, do you have favorite teams?
I'm still suffering PTSD from the Mariners last year. I may not recover from that Blue Jays home run like maybe for my entire life. I don't have a super sharp memory for sports. I'm too busy memorizing political content. Don't judge, I guess. But love the Mariners. Haven't been to a game this year. That's a problem. Love the Seahawks. They were so good last year that it was almost anticlimactic when they won the Super Bowl because they were so good and so obviously going to win that I was like, oh, okay, well, we get to celebrate them winning the Super Bowl today. And finally, I'm basically a fan of all sports Washington. And I just have to tell a quick story about why that happened. I graduated high school in Wyoming, and my first duty assignment was at Fairchild. And we went over to Seattle a bunch of times, and I basically said, I like Seattle. I'm going to adopt Seattle as my hometown. It's the town I wish I was from. And so I've been a Seattle sports fan ever since. Yeah, I need to go to Mariners game pretty soon. Do want to add a quick note. Of course, I've already mentioned I'm a lifelong outdoorsman. I love all forms of outside activities. So I walk 3 miles every morning. I hike up in the mountains as much as I can. I used to do a lot of wing shooting. I used to be an upland game bird hunter, a little bit of a duck hunter. I'm an avid fisherman, and I haven't done nearly enough of that this year. And I will go down a political rabbit hole here on this just a little bit because there are actual Republicans right now talking about, as a political campaign, idea of selling our public lands.
Okay, yes.
And it's, again, if you're a conservative person living in rural America, I've got your back because I'm going to protect those public lands. I've used those public lands my whole life. I feel a real certain way about people trying to sell our lands. And as a matter of fact, very specifically, there's a place in northern Minnesota called the Boundary Water Canoe Area. I've been there 4 times. And they sold mining rates at the headwaters of the boundary waters. It beggars belief that the Republicans would just hand it. My message to Republicans, the way you hold your politicians accountable is voting for the other guy. And I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you another guy to vote for.
All right.
But I can talk about sports all night. I don't think this is sports talk radio just yet. I don't think I signed up for that. I wouldn't mind though. I love that stuff.
Here's a statement by Gorge Man. I don't know. I'm sorry. I won't be able to get this.
Love the user IDs. Keep them coming. It's fine.
I'm a registered Republican, but feel betrayed by the current party. That said, I've always voted my conscience, not the party line, over my voting life. I will vote for the person who will oppose Trump. Is that you?
Yeah. I can't. It should be clear by the words that I have said so far. But let me just say, I don't want to run it. You heard me earlier. We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about affordability. The fact is I'm furious about what Trump has done to our country. And even more than that, I'm furious that we can't have conversations about this. And I've actually had conversations with and heard. I listen to focus groups where people talk about this. And there are a group of people in America that have given up on the idea of democracy because they don't like that outcome. Well, they're living in the wrong country. Self-government means that we have to make compromises and deal with people who do things that we don't like. But that's not what's happening right now. Supporting Trump is not having a wrong opinion. Trump is tearing apart our country, both civilly and how we all get along, by specifically refusing to hold him accountable for what he has done. What he's done, it's boundless. It's hard to sit here. It's so much. A great guy, a great phrase here is, we're going to flood the zone with shit. Steve Bannon gave us that little nugget. And that's what they do. If people really understood, if I could explain to them any one of his corruption surfaces, people would be like, there's no way that he did that. Somebody would have stopped him. There's just no way that he could be that corrupt. And I'm like, but he is, though. I mean, he is probably selling pardons for real money. He is obviously specifically messaging. He is trading on stocks, buying stocks or selling stocks specifically, and then releasing messaging to drive the market up or down. He's deliberately partaking in market manipulation for personal gain. It's just obvious that that's what's happening. And not to mention the foreign policy disasters, the legal disasters, it's too much.
And congressional Republicans are allowing all of that. There is an avenue to hold him back.
Yeah.
They are allowing it.
They absolutely are. They're complicit. And they're complicit after they don't even need to be. Like James Cornyn, for example, the guy that just lost, or Kennedy, Casey in Louisiana.
Bill Cassidy.
We got there. Mm-hmm. Those guys don't owe him anything. He basically got them out of a job.
Mm-hmm.
And yet here we are. They're still towing the party line. For the life of me, will never understand how party can come so much further before country, duty, personal code, anything. And it's obvious to us. And maybe it's not obvious to everybody. It sure as hell is obvious to us. Hope that was clear enough.
I think it was. Colleen Anderson. Representative Hagerman and Senator Cruz dropped bills for blanket immunity for big oil. John, how would you vote on this if and when it comes up? Would you vote no? Blanket immunity.
Blanket immunity for what?
Wait,
what have they done?
What have they done? Big oil?
Obviously, even having a bill for blanket immunity is essentially saying, we've done some shit and we need help getting out of it.
Mm.
No, I would not. No, there should be no blanket immunity for anybody.
Tobacco companies, does that, that's the same type of thing. Tobacco companies for all those years told us that smoking did not cause cancer. And they lied and they knew it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, here's a really a good point for people to know, I'm sure. And I down for 7. Again, I'm sorry. What committee assignments do you aspire to and why?
Yeah, well, as we talked about earlier, because of agriculture having such a premium place, such a primary place in our district, we absolutely I have to be involved in that. We have to do something to fix the markets and help get our growers back on track. There's just no question. So I will for sure be headed to the agricultural committees, no doubt. And that's where we want to go. I've talked about inequality and affordability a little bit, but I've always been kind of interested in tax policy. So
wow.
I know.
There's not going to be a big run on those committees, it's open for you.
Who here wants to talk about tax policy for the next
Yes.
hour? I can, but you probably don't want to listen to it. So it's something I am very interested in. It's complicated. But it's what makes the world go round. Mm-hmm. And I would like to be clear. I'd like to simplify the tax code at every opportunity that I have. There's no easy path here. It's going to be complicated. It's going to be hard. The lobbyists are going to stand in our way, but we've got to fix the tax code. A normal working guy should not have to fill out a whole bunch of forms. You basically fill out a note card and send it back in and say, yep, I made this much and I have to pay this much, and send it back in. We built a whole industry of unproductive jobs. Another one, of course, then I would love to be involved with, the Department of Defense Committee and or the Veterans Affairs Committee, and that kind of stuff. I mean,
What about Hanford?
yes, is there an energy subcommittee? What is the committee that, and is Dan on that one? I've got to go.
Oh, man, I don't know.
I've got to do the homework, do my homework on that one. It would be very interesting in keeping keeping Hanford rolling. I talked about this a couple of different times. We made real progress. We're making real progress out of Hanford, and the Trump administration threatened a $400 million budget cut right in the middle of that. I mean, so where I say there's not blue states and red states, they're all just American states. And the people here are not all just Democrats or Republicans. They're everybody. And to cut a budget because you looked at it and saw it was in Washington, that's mindless and pointless. So
We're getting really close here. It's 7:56.
Yeah.
Let me share with you Natalie from East Wenatchee. Would you be willing to co-author legislation to investigate and sue POTUS, SCOTUS, so the president, the Supreme Court, and legislators, lawmakers that are corrupt?
That's an interesting question. I mean, the short answer is yes. We've got to put some guardrails in place. We've got to a place where, I don't know if you guys saw this, but John Oliver literally tried to convince Thomas Clarence to retire by offering him $1 million RV. The point of John Oliver's TV show, he really did this. Then the point of the show was that it's legal. That was apparently a legal thing to do. And again, it's mind-boggling, because if I let my contractor take me out on a $100 lunch in my civil service job, I'd get fired. Career over, $100 lunch. $1 million RV, A-okay. That system's broken. And we would absolutely do everything we can. But we've got to fix the institutions, right? Like it does come down to individuals, but we really do have to work to fix the actual institutions going forward.
We've covered a lot of ground here, a lot of topics.
Yes.
We've got a couple minutes left, and I want you to have an opportunity to share any information that perhaps we haven't covered that you feel is really important. You want people to know.
He's got.
I'll say we got a couple more decent questions if you guys are.
Yeah,
I can hit a couple more. Yeah, I've got
All
no
right.
problem.
Okay,
How we
sounds
doing
good.
there? How we doing there, producer man?
Yeah, we're good. I'll keep feeding them.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Save that.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Salmon runs. This is Dow for 7. Salmon runs have to do with dams too. Any thoughts on the Bonneville Power Administration and breaching Columbia dams?
This is a tough issue here in central Washington. Now, I've said it publicly, I'll say it again here. To me, one of the biggest issues, we haven't talked about this at all, is climate change.
Yes.
And so if climate change is real, and climate change is something that's going to take a whole of society to fix. And so, and I always hear people say, well, they don't produce that much power and blah, 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 but they do produce power. And any power that they produce is then immediately has to be replaced by more CO2 producing power sources, just no question. Even more importantly to the taxpayers and the people here, though, is again, back to that agricultural foundation. One, the irrigators, because I took a briefing from them, said what they told me was $780 million to make them whole if we breach the dams. So because they built their irrigation systems around the water levels where they are to fix them after the levels in the Snake River go down, will cost us the tax, because he said, you do whatever you want with the dams, we're going to need that $780 million though. And so that's the cost at the beginning. That's not to mention infrastructure improvements and the cost of putting more trucks and trains on the rail instead of the barges. So there's a whole bunch of things here However, the irrigator did say that we could lower the dams one by one and see if that has the impact on the salmon runs that we're hoping for. Instead of just blowing them up, we could actually just breach them, maybe clean the silt up behind them, and then go forward. So that's the kind of thinking that I really like. Again, though, we would still have to pay to get the irrigators right. So the question back to the taxpayers is, is the benefit, is the gain worth the cost? And I don't know the answer to that.
Again, a complicated issue.
Yeah, well, yes, exactly.
Very.
Yes.
What do you think about the SAVE Act? This is a Girl Scout pie.
Yeah, the SAVE Act is a solution looking for a problem. Here in Washington, we've had 3 felony cases of voter impersonation or voter fraud.
3?
3. The whole number.
Okay.
3 since about the year 2000. In that time, we estimate about 35 million votes have been cast for a felony rate of 1 in 10 million. That's how good our voting system is here. Now, our president just went on TV tonight to damage all of our faith and all of our trust in these institutions. Basically, our president went on TV today and lied to all of us for 30 minutes straight about our elections. I've been around the country. I've done elections in other places. These are the best. I like the elections here the best. They send me a voter's pamphlet that has actual statements from the candidates that I can read. Oh, by the way, you can read my statement in the voter's pamphlet as well. And then you have the ballot at home so that if you didn't like their statement, you can then look up from the comfort of your office or your couch what kind of a candidate that person is. And then you put it in, and I 100% believe that our votes are secure, that people who are not authorized to be voting are not voting, and we're getting the correct result from our votes. And we know that because I've talked to a bunch of people who won their elections by like 27 votes and stuff like that. You ever talk to John Updegrove? He won a statewide race by like 119 votes. Matters, folks. Get out there and vote. It really matters. It matters right now.
August 4th.
It matters August 4th.
We're going to get our ballots in by August 4th.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Here's a final question from Charlie along these lines. He's from Richland. How are you going to beat any Republican in this district?
I mean, the short answer here is that I think people are ready for something different. And look, we all know what the past is. This is not the past. We've got, number one, we've got an open seat. So the solid incumbent good guy, Dan Newhouse, that took care of the growers, kept bringing dollars back to Hanford, that's gone. Instead, we have MAGA culture warriors. You get more of Trump. And I've talked to a lot of Republicans. We had one on this event tonight. It's like, I don't vote party line. Listen, I'm telling you right now, my oath is to the Constitution. It's not to the party, and it sure as hell isn't to a man. It sure as hell would never be to President Donald Trump. And so that's what you're getting from me. I promise to serve the people of this district and not the party and not your interest in this district. And so I think look, there's a lot of people who are going to turn out. There's a lot of people who are really pissed off about what has happened to our country, and they're ready to come out and they're ready to vote.
I'm going to vote for you.
Thank you. I want all of you to go vote for me too. Look, and that's what this is too. Look, we've done the work. We've been everywhere. We've done the work. We've been around the district. Unlike the other candidates in this race, I am not afraid to show up in front of the constituents, in front of the voters that I'm asking to vote for me, to represent their interests in Congress. I will always do that. I don't make many promises while I'm doing this, because politicians making promises is a good way to get burned. But here is a promise that I don't mind making. When I win, I'll be back. I'll go right back to moonshot and have more town halls in public. And if you need to come yell at me, then come yell at me. It's fine. So bottom line is, the ballots are in your inbox. They're either on your desk, they're in your mailbox. And man, I sure would appreciate it. I'm asking for your vote tonight. Come follow us on all the social media. Come say hello, reach out, send us an email, send us a message. Love to hear from you, and would love you to mark John Duresky and have it in a ballot box or the post office box. Put it in a ballot box, you can do it on August 4th. If you put it in the mailbox, you should do it a few days before August 4th. And so, are we ready to wrap?
Yeah, we've got the links in the comments in the chat box for folks who would like to donate and volunteer.
Yeah.
So that's where we use help.
Thanks. So we do have in the chat box there in the live stream, we have a donation link and we have a volunteer link. Look, one of my opponents has raised almost $1 million, and it does take
Raised or given?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think you are in a position where you are raising money from individual people that you will represent.
Yes.
Not large interests.
Yes. We had something like 1,600 individual donations.
Okay.
Yeah. We, again, from doing the work. So links to volunteer, links to donate, and please go vote. And always thank you if you're still here watching. Thank you so much for joining our YouTube Live. And I guess really you got to let us all know, should we do this again? I can bring other local political people back, and we'll do that. We'll bring Christine Rich.
Oh, I think you should do. I don't necessarily want to, but I think you should, because you have responded to a lot of really important questions tonight,
Yeah.
and people get a real feel for you.
Yeah.
They may just see you on Facebook or whatever, but this is a great opportunity. I encourage you, John, do it again.
Will do. And so with that, I'll just say thank you to you of course don't see it on the camera, but I got two guys behind me here, Brian and Dan, running the video. I've got my campaign manager out there feeding questions to Christine. And Christine, thank you so much for
You're
coming
welcome.
out today.
It was fun.
What a joy,
Enjoyed
what an absolute, folks, this is what democracy looks like. So thank you so much for being here. And with that, we'll call it.